Okay, so today we're going to review energy pyramids. And one of the things that I need you guys to remember is that the shape of the pyramid is important when we're learning about how energy is transferred. So at the bottom of the energy pyramid, you should know that this level, the bottom level, is where we're going to find producers. Okay, and producers make their own food. Okay, so they typically are the plants, but they're not always plants. They're algae and some plankton and things like that, other organisms. So normally we would know them as photosynthetic. And don't forget, photo means light and synthetic means make. So they make food from light. And typically the plants that we know are photosynthetic and also known as producers. We also need to understand a term called autotroph, and producers are autotrophs. The prefix auto means self, and troph means feeding. So they feed themselves. And don't mistake that with, that you can feed yourself. They actually feed themselves by making their own food. Okay, so producers are autotrophs. An example of a producer is a photosynthetic organism like a plant, but we can also have chemosynthetic organisms, and those are bacteria and chemosynthetic. And so these guys, chemo means chemical and synthetic means to make. So they make their food from chemicals. And oftentimes we find those guys like way down at the bottom of the ocean, um, producing food from vents that come out of the Earth's core. So those are pretty cool organisms. But for the purpose of this review lesson, we're just going to understand that producers are autotrophs or autotrophic, which means that they're self-feeders. And producers tend to be, in general terms, photosynthetic organisms like plants. The next thing that you have to know that is that in this energy pyramid, this is called level 1, okay? And these levels along the side here are called trophic levels, and that's the level of feeding. So the trophic level here is level 1. So this is one thing students mistake all the time. They start at the top and say this is level 1, but it's not. It's the bottom that's level 1. Okay, the next level are the primary consumers. And I'm going to write one with a little degree sign. That's the short form for primary. So I'll write that primary consumers. And these are the guys that are actually eating something to get their energy. These guys get their energy by substances that they produce through photosynthesis. And so the primary consumers are the guys that generally eat these guys. And we're just going to very generally say that these guys are typically plant eaters, and plant eaters are known as herbivores. Okay? And herb means plant, and vor means eater or to eat. So um, if you're an herbivore, you eat plants. Their trophic level is level 2. So they feed at what we call level 2 of the energy pyramid. So these guys will actually consume these guys. Okay. And if you take a look, I talked about autotrophs in the first level. These guys are called heterotrophs. Okay. And hetero means other, and troph means feeding. So these guys feed on others, which makes them consumers. The next trophic level is secondary consumers, and I'll just put what the 2 with the degree means secondary. And I'm just going to go outside the line here, secondary consumers. And these guys are typically organisms that will eat primary consumers or producers. Okay, and so often, well, we'll call them heterotrophs because they eat others. Heterotroph. Okay, so don't forget, hetero means other and troph means feed. So if you feed on others, you're a heterotroph. And so typically these guys are called carnivores. And carnivores are things that eat other consumers. Carnivore. And the prefix carn, this is for my speakers of other languages. Carne means meat, so carnivore is somebody who feeds on meat, okay? Consumes meat. And then you can get up to, so let's make this our 3rd trophic level, okay? And then we'll go up to our 4th trophic level, and these guys are typically, we call them tertiary, which means 3rd level, okay? Tertiary, and that just means 3rd. Tertiary consumers. My marker's not working here. Consumers. Okay, so these guys are typically carnivores and heterotrophs as well. I'm not going to write it in, but you see that, you know, if you're up here, you're eating these guys and these guys, okay? So a lot of times these are you know, high-level predators. Now, the next thing that you're going to have to understand is that there are also things called energy levels, okay? And so energy levels, I'm going to put over here. So we need to understand that the energy that flows in this pyramid flows from this level to this level, and then from this level to this level, and then from this level to this level. And so one of the things that you have to know is called the rule of 10. And this is pretty simple. I love this for students because it's really easy to figure out the rule of 10. So the rule of 10 says that whatever amount of energy is at one level, the level above it is about 1/10 of the energy. So if these guys have 1,000 kilojoules of energy, and you don't have to worry about the units, just think 1,000 units of energy, okay? So when you go from this level to this level, these guys get 100% of their energy from the sun. So the sun, let's draw the sun here, and I'm talking about the photosynthetic guys. So the sun provides the energy to start this energy pyramid. And let's say they have 1,000 kilojoules of energy in them. The organism that consumes them will only receive 100 kilojoules of energy. And the reason for that is that this organism actually has to metabolize and operate itself. So it actually gets within itself 100 kilojoules of energy. The rest of the energy is used up in metabolic processes. Okay, so 90% of the energy that came from consuming this went to metabolic processes. And that's all the things that your body does that maintain your body temperature and lots of things that we do. Okay, so if you start off with 1,000, this guy is 100. So using the rule of 10, every time you go up, you get about 1/10 of the energy from below. So 100 kilojoules would translate into 10, and then 10 kilojoules would translate into 1. So all of you guys would have to be able to divide by 10 to go up, but your teacher might be tricky, and I like to be a little bit tricky. And sometimes I'll put over here, I'll put 356. Okay. Now, if I say there's 356 kilojoules of energy at level 4 in the energy pyramid, what is the energy available at level 3? You would have to be able to go in this direction. So it's easier to go from top to bottom. So you just, instead of dividing by 10 as you go up, you're going to multiply by 10. And when you multiply by 10, you know you just add a 0. So down here, it would be 3,560 kilojoules of energy. Down here would be 35,600, and so on, 356,000. So do you see how when we go up, we divide, and when we go down, we multiply? So hopefully that helps you to understand energy pyramids and the names associated with the organisms. And don't forget, you have to start off at trophic level 1 is down at the bottom, okay? So the most amount of energy is available down here. And these guys get their energy from the sun. Unless you're chemosynthetic, you're going to get it from chemicals. But for our purposes, let's just remember that the sun starts the energy pyramid.